This video is brought to you by Sporlin. Quality, integrity, tradition.
What's going on, guys? Hope everyone's doing good. I am just getting back to the grind. I took a vacation for about 10 days. I went back home to Connecticut. It was a great time, long overdue. It had been about 4 years since I saw the people up there that I'm related to in my old hometown and whatnot, so it was really nice. I left the day that I released the van tour video 2 Fridays ago. I've spent this whole week at an elementary school. Again, I was there about a month ago, and it's on some of their VRF equipment that was installed not too long ago, having some issues. Would have made some fantastic video, but alas, this is an elementary school, and as I've said to you guys before, I am not going to be the guy going around with a video camera in an elementary school. When you look like me and you're in an environment like that, you go ahead, you whip out a video camera. Next thing you know, I go home and I run into this.
You have a seat right over there for me.
I don't want to have a seat.
Actually, I want you to come here.
It was an air conditioning video.
This guy's got a mouth and an attitude that was unbelievable. Real wise cracker.
Am I free to go?
You're free to leave anytime. On the ground now.
So anyways, guys, I just want to get on here. It's been, like I said, about 10 days since I've seen you. I wanted to get up and give you guys some updates and let you know what I've been up to. As of about 3 weeks ago, I have taken my dive into the podcast world. So for those of you that weren't already listeners of the HVAC Shop Talk podcast, I recently joined on with Zach Ciota as the new co-host. It's been a lot of fun trying out that medium. It's taken a little getting used to, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and it's been getting a really good response. So for those of you in the audience that maybe aren't involved in the podcast world as of yet, go ahead. I'm going to link below in the description to one of the episodes so you guys can pick up and listen. If you have an iPhone, it's obviously going to be on the podcast app, but you can use Stitcher for Android users. And we're really just having a pretty laid-back format. We're just kind of casually talking about issues in the HVAC industry, lighthearted stories, some technical tips sprinkled in there, and we'll be having some guests to talk as well from manufacturers or other experts in industry-related areas. So for those of you that enjoy the AK HVAC YouTube channel, it's not a far leap to say that you're probably going to love the HVAC Shop Talk podcast as well. So definitely give Shop Talk a listen. Let me know what you guys think of it. Also, as of about 5 days ago, YouTube finally decided to give me my community tab. I'm about 5,000 subscribers over the supposed threshold required to enable that feature, and they're just now getting around to it. So that's great. It gives me one more way to engage with you guys. I can now post on the YouTube news feed, if you will, with text, photos, and polls, etc. So keep an eye out for those as another way to stay in touch. Speaking of YouTube, I watched the 35-minute long video that Mr. Jim Bergman put out a few days ago, going into proper combustion analysis and the new Blue Flame combustion analyzer from AccuTools. It was a really informative video, and it really got me thinking and reminded me that that is certainly a shortcoming that I personally have when it comes to, more advanced knowledge. It's just not something that we deal with a ton at my branch, but it's certainly something that I want to know more about and start using as a more routine part of service calls and taking care of the customers. In fact, for a few seconds there when I watched it, it again made me feel kind of dumb. I think it's a feeling that we have all too often in the HVAC trade. When you really start to dig into all the different areas of HVAC, you can realize how much you really don't know despite your experience level or the years you've been involved. But I want to remind you, because I have to remind myself this, to not let that feeling of sometimes helplessness or inadequacy affect your self-esteem or impact your morale as a technician. You need to use that as fuel to want to learn more, because if you don't feel like that every few weeks or every few days or every time you go from a cooling season back into heating season, you're falling into a comfort zone. And it's really easy to fall into that sometimes and ride that wave, but it's going to bite you. You should always be trying to move on to what's next. What are you lacking in? What are your weak areas? And what can you do about it to make it less of a weak area? I just thought I'd point that out because it's one of those do as I say, not as I do. I don't like not knowing about something. And I've already talked about this in other videos as a sore spot for me at times. I go through phases where I become discouraged and frustrated that I don't know everything about everything. But it's just important to check yourself and turn that into production and turn that into action versus wallowing. In other words, I will be dedicating some time on my own after hours to really dive into some of the science behind combustion analysis, how that science becomes practically applicable to what a technician does for a customer, and how I can begin implementing that physically and personally from now on. With that, thanks for watching. Thanks so much for staying subscribed and following the channel. Make sure again to check out HVAC Shop Talk. If you enjoy the content, subscribe to the podcast. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you on the next one.